everyone, Kelly here, and today I wanted to do a video about thrillers because right now we're in the middle of Thrillerathon. It's hosted by Harriet Rosie and it runs I think from August 19th to the 26th. I participated the last two times she did this, and of course I love thrillers, and this time I was not planning on participating because we're leaving for vacation on Friday, which is in the middle of the readathon, and I just didn't want the stress during packing and everything to make a TBR, to vlog, do whatever. So I was just not gonna participate. But then I just got really in the mood to read a thriller, and since it's during Thrillerathon, I decided to do a video about it so I can kind of like support Thrillerathon and read a thriller since I'm in the mood for it. So what I decided to do, instead of like a traditional vlog or whatever, was to try a chapter for thrillers. And that's where, I pick some books, read the first chapter, and tell you which ones I liked and which ones I want to continue right away, and then which ones that maybe I don't like. I did try a chapter for thrillers last year in October, and where I took like all of my thrillers and put them in a jar and picked from them, and so I'm going to do that method again because I liked that, because it's hard for me to just narrow it down to 5 that I want to try, so I'm letting it up to chance. And last time I did this, it was pretty successful because from those like 5 first chapters, I ended up getting rid of a book, and then 1 I haven't read yet, and then 3 out of the 5 I read pretty much right away after making that video. So it just got me like in the mood to read them. And some of these thrillers have been on my shelf for a long time. So I think this is a good way to motivate me. So first, I'm going to show you all the thrillers that I put in here. It was not every single thriller I owned because I decided not to put in any thrillers that were part of a series, because just that way I don't have to like tell you any spoilers if it's like the second thriller in a series or something like that. And most of the time when it's like a detective or something, there's not really like much relation, but I still just put that so it would be less books in here because there's like 10 in here now. And I also didn't put any books that were over like 450 pages because since I want to try to like wrap up this video during Thrillerathon, because the one I do choose from the 5 to finish, I want to like finish it and tell you my final thoughts as part of this video. So I didn't put in anything that was over 450 pages. And so first I'm just going to show you the titles real quick so you know what might come out. I have Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson, which that was a newer one I got. Room by Emma Donoghue, which I feel like everybody but me has read, so I should probably get around to it. Penance by Kanai Manato. Her other thriller, Confessions, is my favorite thriller of the year so far. The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina. I still have not read any of her books, so that would be a good one to pick. I have Descent by Tim Johnston. I don't know anything about this, never even heard of it, so it's good to have it in the jar because I might not have gotten to it because I've never heard of it. Watch Me Disappear by Janelle Brown. Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This is another like popular thriller writer, and I've just never read any of her books yet. Hold My Hand by M.J. Ford, and this actually might be part of a series, but I don't know. I can't remember. I feel like it might be them. The Walls by Holly Overton. I really loved her other book, Baby Doll. And then The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. She's another popular thriller author who I have never read from. So those are the 10 books that could be picked out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one now. I'm going to go read the chapter, tell you what I think, and then pick another. So I won't pick all 5 right now. So got my nice little post-it notes. All right, the first one is Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson. So I'm going to go read the first chapter of this and get back to you. All right, so I read the first chapter of Before I Go to Sleep, and this was actually a pretty long chapter, probably about 32 pages. I think that's what it was. And I was just really hooked. I was going to just stop after like 15 pages, think that's enough, but I read the whole 32. I was just like really sucked in. I'll definitely be continuing this book, even if it's not the one I choose out of the 5. It was really interesting. So in our first chapter, our main character, Christine, wakes up. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know the man laying next to her. She thinks she had a one-night stand. She goes to the bathroom, and she doesn't recognize herself in the mirror. She sees that it's her, but that she's much older than she remembers, like 20 years older than she remembers. And then we find out, her husband tells her she was in an accident in her 20s, and she's now 47 and has just had amnesia, or like memory loss this entire time and has to keep learning who she is over and over again. Also in the first chapter, we meet her therapist, and kind of like he's trying to work with her on her memory and gives her a journal that she has been writing down information on. I am sucked in and I'm interested. I've heard mixed reviews about this book, but I think it'll read really quick, even if it doesn't turn out fantastic, because that first 30 pages flew by really quickly. So let me pick my next book to read a chapter from. The next one, oh, I'm interested in this one. This next one is Watch Me Disappear by Janelle Brown. And I picked this up without knowing much about it, but I heard that it's like a thriller that involves survival something. Yeah, so she's on a hike and gets lost and needs to survive, and that's what the thriller is based on. And so I'm really excited to read this because I like kind of outdoor nature survival stories. I was just gonna see how long this one is. So this is 24 pages. Oh wait, there's a prologue. I think I might just try reading the prologue, and if I don't get enough out of it, the prologue's 10 pages, and if I don't get enough out of that, going into the first chapter is 24 pages to read both prologue and first chapter, so I'll see what I end up deciding to stop at. Okay, so I think I was wrong about this being a survival story. I didn't fully read the back because I had heard somebody talk about it, and I think I just picked keywords up and didn't really get it, so now I did read the back after reading the first, just the prologue and a few pages of the first chapter, that it's about a mom who, she does go on a hike and gets lost, but where we're actually at is a year later. She's been missing all this time, presumed dead, and we're following her daughter and her husband. So I was confused because like at the very beginning, you know how authors kind of do like basically tell you what's happening. It was in third person, the prologue, and was saying, very first paragraph, this is one of the last days the family spends together before Billy dies. So we're hearing about an event that happens right before the mom goes missing. So that's like what happens in the prologue. This just like picnic basically this family's having, and I was like, okay, I want to see what this leads to. And then when we get to chapter 1, it's a year later, and we're just following the daughter and what's happening and her dealing with the death of her mother. And that's basically where it is. So it's not what I thought it was going to be. So I'm not as excited. I'm still interested because obviously something's happening, or why else would there be a book about it? And so something mysterious or something is going on, but I don't think I'm interested in reading it right now. I wasn't really pulled in by the prologue. In fact, I found the writing kind of awkward. Like there were times, sentences I had to keep rereading because I didn't quite understand them. So I think that was just, it's just the author's style. It is not really easily consumable. Like Before I Go to Sleep was just like so easily consumable. Like I could read it very quickly and went by fast. Where this one I think will just take me more time to focus on. So I'm not going to choose that one as the one I read for Thrillerathon. So let's pick my third option. All right, and this one I picked Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. And B.A. Paris, I know of like at least 3 of her books that I've seen around. Like, is B.A. Paris a woman? I don't know. It is a woman. Okay, so I've seen her books around on BookTube, and I hear mixed reviews. Some people enjoy them. Some people think they're kind of cliche. I kind of view her similar to Ruth Ware, where she's like a really popular author, but maybe not for somebody who reads a ton of thrillers. But I sometimes enjoy just an entertaining story, so I want to give her a chance. I got this at a library sale, so it's not like I spent much money. Turns out this is not like, there are no page chapter numbers. It's like past, present, future type thing. So let's see if I can figure out what is a chapter. Okay, so the first chapter is called Present, and it goes back and forth between present and past. And that first chapter is 20 pages, and it's like really big writing, like really big font, so that should go by really fast. So I'm just gonna check that out. I don't really know. I think this is a very domestic kind of marriage type thriller, so let me see what that first chapter is about. All right, so I finished the first chapter of Behind Closed Doors, and it's just We're getting to know the main couple, Jack and Grace. They're having a dinner party with two other couples. One they've known for a little while, and the other one is new to the neighborhood. So they're just meeting for the first time. And we are getting to find out that they're like the perfect couple. Their house is perfect, clothes perfect, the way they interact is perfect, the absolutely perfect dinner. But we are hearing from the perspective of Grace, and the whole time we're in this situation, you can tell she's making sure everything is perfect because her husband wants it that way. And so there's this kind of feeling of unease that like maybe there's a consequence if it's not perfect. And so we don't know yet why she's feeling that way. So that's all that's happened so far in the first chapter. So I have like no clue where this is going, other than I think that there's going to find out something is going on in their marriage. I'm interested, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm more interested in the first book. I don't know. I'll give it the next two and see which one I want to continue. It might be that I'll be reading a couple thrillers this week. So let me pick out the next one. I know my kids might be waking up soon, so you might see me. At some point, I might not be able to continue this in this location, but we'll see how long they will stay asleep. And my fourth book is, oh, exciting. I was kind of hoping this one would be picked, and it's The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina. I just hear her name everywhere. Her books sound interesting to me, so I've really been wanting to read this one, and it's nice and short. And it looks like the first chapter might be short, which is great because I'm getting tired. Yeah, the first chapter is only 7 pages, so I'm going to read that and see what I think. All right, that first chapter was really short, which is good because I'm getting kind of worn out after 4 books. And it was very similar to the last one in the fact that it was a dinner party. So there's 2 couples. The one that we are following is Anne and Marco. We're hearing from Anne, and she's kind of like tired of this party, wants to go home. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. She feels that the other woman is flirting with her husband, so she's just miserable. And also they left their daughter at home, their baby who's 6 months old. These houses are adjoined, so they're row houses. The walls are adjoined, and they've been going back and forth and checking on their baby every half hour. But obviously she still feels worried about her baby being in the other house, so she's ready to go home. I found this fine, interesting. I wouldn't say this is like as compelling of a read at the beginning. I don't know, I've never read any Sherry Lapina, like I said, but at least in this first chapter, her writing seemed very stilted. Yeah, it was just like these really short, choppy sentences, and I don't know if it's just in this beginning chapter, getting to know things, and that stuff will flesh out more as I go. But in that first chapter, I wasn't really pulled into the writing at all. I was kind of annoyed by the abrupt writing. So we'll see if that continues. Now let me pick my last one, and then I'll kind of tell you which one I think I'm going to continue to read. So, all right. The last option is The Walls by Holly Overton. And this is exciting. I had read her other book, Baby Doll, last year, I think, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't fully like a thriller. It was more of a dramatic story that involved the kind of topics that might have been in a thriller, because it was about a woman who had been abducted, but it took place after she had escaped. And so I am really interested because I felt that was a really unique take on the subject, and so I'm excited to read this one. The first chapter is 14 pages, and I think this one is about a woman who falls in love with a man who works at a prison, maybe, and kind of things might not be perfect. Last one, done. So the chapter was just like 14 pages. It read really quick, and it made me remember why I liked Baby Doll so much, that I just like her writing. They're kind of, her books kind of are in between, just regular dramatic literature, fiction books, and thrillers, and it's just like a perfect combination to make them so interesting. Enough stuff happening, and I just really love them. In this first chapter, we're just meeting our main character, Christy, she's the one that works the prison. I was wrong. So she is a public information officer, I think that's what it's called. And so her job is to be kind of the liaison between the inmates and the press. So if they do interviews or things like that, she also has to attend all the executions because she's working in Texas, so they are a death penalty state. And so she has to be there at every execution as the kind of like representative from the prison system. And so we're hearing about her job. We're also getting to know about her family. She's a young mom, so she was a teen pregnancy. So her son is 14, but she's only 30, is that right? So she was 16 when she had her child. So we're kind of learning about her family situation, her job, and the end of the chapter kind of ends pretty intensely. So yeah, I'm really interested in reading this. So I read my 5, and I want to pick at least one that I'm going to read now over the next couple days and tell you about this, tell you what I think of it. So of the 5, I'm not going to pick Watch Me Disappear. I think this one wasn't as interesting to me right at the moment and will take some time to get into. I think that both of these are going to be kind of similar domestic thrillers about marriage and things like that. And though I do want to read both of these from the first chapter, I don't think I want to continue with them right at the moment. But I might read them soon. This has at least got me like interested in them more recently. So it's between these two, and even though I really love Holly Overton's writing, I think that I just want like a really quick kind of thriller, and this one seems like it would just be a really quick read and something that I can dive into. So I'm going to read before I go to sleep, and I'll come back and talk to you about it as I'm reading, but I will probably pick up The Walls sometime in the next week because this really pulled my attention too. So I'm glad it kind of pulled me back into her writing, but I will definitely be updating you and letting you know what I think about before I go to sleep. Hey, so it is a couple days later and I have finished Before I Go to Sleep, and I really enjoyed this book. I would definitely recommend it if you are a fan of thrillers and you don't mind the trope of amnesia. I'm not going to tell you any more about what it's about since I don't think you want to know anything beyond that first chapter, what I found out. The only thing I'll say is that the only thing I didn't love about this book was that, you know how I said that she was going to start writing in her journal? The majority of this book is like journal writings, which makes sense because that's pretty much the only way she can remember things, is being an amnesiac. But what I don't like about books that have journal writing is when it obviously does not sound like a journal at all. It pretty much just sounds like a novel that is being put into a journal. Do you know what I mean? Because like her journal writing would have like full-on dialogue, and it's like people just don't journal like that. And I know that like if you are an amnesiac, maybe you want like to have more information, but you know, I don't have amnesia, but I'm not going to remember a conversation word for word that I had with my husband this morning. You know, it's 3 o'clock now. If I were to write down like everything that's happened to me today, I'm not going to remember an entire conversation from this morning. So I don't think that somebody with brain trauma is going to remember word for word all of their discussions. So that was the only little thing, but I didn't take much off for that. Like this is like probably a solid 4-star book, maybe even 4.5. Really loved it because I just liked the way the information unfolded. I guessed pretty quickly on how the book was going to conclude, and I still enjoyed it. And I think that's always a good sign in a thriller because I just often guess the endings, but if the author is only relying on the twist and the reveal at the end to be what makes the book interesting, then that makes me disappointed. But if it's just keeping me invested the whole time, it doesn't matter that I know the ending. I still want to know how it unfolds. I still want to see how it happens in the whole journey. And this, I really enjoyed the whole journey. I was completely absorbed. I was having one of those days yesterday where like meals came and I was reading this instead of paying attention to my children during their meals. You know, it happens on those days when you just fall in love with a book and want to read it. So yeah, I was like trying to read this at any moment I possibly could. So I would highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So I think that this try a chapter was very successful. I found a book I really enjoyed, and I'm also going to take on Vacation with Me, The Walls by Holly Overton, because that one sounded really interesting when I was reading that first chapter. So definitely a successful chapter tag. Let me know if you've read any of these, and especially the ones that I didn't pull out of the jar. If there are ones that you think I should definitely get to soon, let me know, because I always get in these like thriller moods every once in a while. I want to read like several thrillers in a row. All right, see you guys later. Bye.